Hello.
Hey, how are we?
Most excellent.
Yes, definitely.
Let me tweet out about this.
So we're going to be talking about proof of work.
Absolutely. The one and the
Favorite
only.
favorite topic.
No second to it.
Hmm.
Especially now, Ethereum is releasing so many resources.
Well, it's a funny thing that because you see this week quite a lot of actual governments and countries coming out with we're going to fork Ethereum for our central bank digital currency. Ironic that Ethereum's main propaganda line is that they're going to be saving the planet or something like that. And we all know that the miners that are on Ethereum is going to be switching off. They're going to be moving on to
Yeah,
different coins, and the line that they're spreading is, this is great for the environment and all the rest of it. I think is if you believe that, you're a fool, to be honest with you. Um,
yeah. I saw. You tweeted that a few days ago, and I was like, absolutely. It's not like these GPUs are all going to be, thrown away, and people are going to just say, okay, it's great. Let's save the planet. But these resources are going to be reallocated, and today we're going to talk about where they will be reallocated to.
Excellent. Um,
Yeah.
I think most miners currently look at some of the profitability calculators online and don't really have an understanding. All these numbers that they're collating this week are going to be completely different next week. There are algorithms out there that are just really heavy on your power, and to think that you're going to get, an equal profitability across the board is a funny thing that it really needs shot down in flames, because what you're looking for is something with efficiency,
Yeah.
something that obviously you want to stay profitable, but it is going to be a time of speculation for most miners before we see something, the cream of the crop, rise to the top.
Absolutely. So I would like to talk today about several things. I would like to kind of list them out so I personally don't get lost. So first of all, what are the alternatives? And right now we have several unknowns. The first of them is either like, will there be any work of Ethereum which will still use proof of work? So this is kind of interesting topic in it of itself. We heard
Mm.
some interesting weird coins, kind of scammy sounding. So we will talk about them. The second point is like if you are switching to Beam, which GPUs are the most kind of suitable for that,
Mm.
and where you can find materials, tutorials, what's the easiest way to do that. The third topic I would like to discuss is a little bit off topic. It's personally interesting to me because there have been a lot of updates to the prices of electricity, obviously, around the world. So I
Yeah,
wonder
that's
how
right as
this,
well.
yeah, how this affects the geography of miners and their distribution.
Mm.
Yeah, and also like in general, proof of work, proof of stake. Now that Ethereum is kind of switching sides, where this is all going. That's kind of my agenda.
Firstly, I think it's important to note that this isn't the first time that miners have been through this. Um, with the introduction of ASIC machines into what was GPU mining for a long time before Ethereum came along, there were loads of other coins that were the cream of the crop, so to speak. And generally, what would happen is that a manufacturer will come along and create an ASIC machine, which will basically knock GPU miners off their systems. These days, it's not so clear cut to be able to do that, because software developers, for example, Lolly Diab, whose birthday it is today, happy birthday to him. He created the miner software LOL Miner, and he also created, if you didn't know, the Beam hash algorithm that Beam runs on. And he done so in a way that it makes it kind of difficult for ASICs to overtake GPUs. I mean, Beam in itself isn't ASIC resistant, but the algorithm means it has the properties to be able to keep GPUs to a good standard versus any ASIC machines that might come in the future. And this is happening with a lot of algorithms these days. So the change that we're seeing in the mining space now isn't something new at all. We've been through this before. Miners don't just switch off, and we've pretty much moved from, let's fill our warehouses full of ASIC machines to, well, why not GPUs? Because they're more flexible, they're more versatile, and at the end of the day, as a miner, what the most important part is your profitability, is your resale value of the equipment that you're using to mine with, and hence why GPUs are pretty much the best thing to have on a network to secure that network, I think.
Yeah. So when there was I don't exactly remember, I think it was 3 years ago when there was a massive explosion in demand for GPUs. Probably 2017, 18, where you couldn't buy GPUs on the market. It was very find them because most of them were kind of scooped at the moment they're out for mining. I wonder if now, in this regard, the situation is better. Is it easier to buy GPUs? Is the supply kind of caught up? Because in the middle we have the coronavirus, as you know, a lot of chip manufacturers kind of reduced some of the production. We felt this in cars, but I don't know if it impacted the GPU market.
Yeah, I think it did to a point, but for miners in the know, and those with the connections who have been in the industry for the past 10 years, it was quite easy to source GPUs. Not for everybody, obviously, because not everybody has the contacts and the demand to buy up tens and hundreds of expensive graphics cards at a time. But it certainly did take a hit during the pandemic time. That, like you say, the production of these things were slow and getting out to the market quickly. So yeah, it's changed a bit.
So which kind of projects, networks do you think most of the miners kind of researching now that they have, no longer the need to mine Ethereum?
Well, if you look back on historically, what miners were mining prior to Ethereum was ultimately billed as a privacy coin. And I mean, I'll admit now it was the cream of the crop for quite some time, Zcash. And that's what, before ASICs were introduced onto that network, because they blew out graphics cards off that network totally. It was a privacy coin that miners were mining. So I think with everything that's happening in the world now, people are seeing that, what a central bank digital currency is just going to fork Ethereum and use that. Well, is Ethereum that great if that's what these people are doing? Is it really what we want to be investing our time and money into? That people can just see our finances on blockchain? I think the most coins which we will see rise to the top over the next months coming are going to be coins like Beam, Firo, and needless to say, on my list, we also have things like Zero, which is a prog pal. So ultimately, that in itself is going to have quite a lot of FPGA on it. because that algorithm is beautiful for FPGA. So for GPU miners, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and say Beam and Firo are the two that you really want to be looking at of your privacy, to preserve your profitability, and to, keep your hobby going, because ultimately, as well as the profit that miners make, it's still a hobby to us,
Like how when you make a decision, like do you obviously look also on how easy it is to sell, like in terms of like trading volume, right, and which exchanges it's traded on, right?
Liquidity is important. You can look at websites like What to Mine, and if I just have a look myself, it's now I'll refresh. The calculator is to the fund that I have is it's telling me that there's a Copow algorithm that runs. I think it's the Raven coin algo. There's a new coin that's been forked from Raven called Neoxa, and that's keeping prominence on What to Mine at the moment. But bear in mind, if a mining farm of say 10,000 3090 GPUs bump onto Neoxa from Ethereum, the day after is that the network shoots up and the price shoots down because the liquidity isn't there. Not to mention that Copow is a horrible algorithm. I detest it to bits. It's just where an Equihash algorithm like Beamhash will take 320 watts from a 3090 GPU. Copow is going to look at 15% on top of that. So you're pulling more power, you're using more electricity, and getting less out of it. So it's all relevant. The efficiency that a graphics card will run on a particular algo is important to a miner because you want your share of the network versus the power that you're paying.
Yeah, like as you said, the Beamhash 3, which is like the latest upgrade for Beam mining algorithm, is state of the art. It was developed by Lolly, and yeah, it's really like a great improvement over the previous iterations, which were just kind of variations on Equihash. But Beamhash 3, which is currently used on Beam Network, is a completely new kind of developed from scratch bespoke algorithm, which is very efficient. Yeah.
It is, and it doesn't favour core or memory. It takes a bit of both, which is also good, because again it boils the efficiency of your graphics card and how you use it.
Tell me, maybe like in terms of percentage, like GPUs that are currently mining Ethereum compared to the total GPU market, like how many resources are we talking about? Is it like 80%, 50%? Like what's the comparative numbers?
Without the specific numbers at hand, I would say, because miners aren't all set on the same coin. So I would say Ethereum percentage of the network, I would say somewhere between 60 and 70% of the network, perhaps.
So it's quite a lot of resources getting freed up.
It's a lot of resources, yeah. It is a lot of resources. There's going to be, it's a heavy shift. It is a heavy shift, and also when a lot of miners shift on a single coin, you see the difficulty of the network shoot up as well. So it's all weighing the different parts of how you mine to decide what you're going to mine.
Yep, indeed. So obviously, Beam would like to get as much as possible of the hash power, and for a good reason, because with the development of our DeFi ecosystem, we're looking, to increase significantly the transactions on the network, which is already quite large. But the addition of new applications that are next month and a half, I think there will be like a lot more activity.
It is important that the network is secured in such a manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have, bridges, which definitely require as much security as possible in terms of like, even though there are mechanisms, to protect against rollbacks and all that, like still it's very good to have a like, stable network.
Mm.
Not to mention, and kind of more far, if we're talking about like the next 6 months, uh, one of the major moves from Beam is first of all adding the EVM support and also supporting side chains. And these side chains, even though some of them probably are going to be, or most of them probably going to be proof of stake, they will use main chain as this kind of entering mechanism, just like Polygon did in the beginning to create the checkpoints and improve the reliability of the sidechain. So, yeah, B mainnets definitely needs like maximum stability.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be the base of the network. And even though, I mean, you can debate whether it is good for the environment, or you can debate whether it is the most secure way of, you know, propagating a network. I think ultimately it boils down to the usage, like you say, and the amount of transactions that happen on the network. And Beam has gone from, from its conception to it's quite a well used coin at the moment, and I can only see that getting bigger, which is why you see operating system developers tweeting about Beam, that it's a possibility to, this is one of the coins that you want to be looking at tonight. And the next 6 months, yeah, it's going to be pure speculation, to be honest with you. We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But I think Beam has a great chance of succeeding, and getting a big bulk of the share of that network that Ethereum is kicking into the dust.
Yeah, Dr. Raskul wants to say something.
Yeah, I just want to point out two things that Raskul mentioned. He said volume, and he mentioned something about Beam Hash 3. It is a type of algorithm that is ASIC friendly. It does not discriminate. However, it does not cripple GPUs. Now, we already have an algorithm that is in existence that's similar to that, which is EThash. Now, also another thing, liquidity, um, which is also very important. If anyone has been watching, Ethereum Classic liquidity has been through the roof compared to the top performers like Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's been way up there. Now, also the reason why I want to pretty much say why I pointed out the ASICs for a simple fact is, do we know how many above 8 gigabyte ASICs are still mining Ethereum? Because they will have no option other than Ethereum Classic. As we see that now, there's the reason why Ethereum Classic is so less profitable than the other coins, because all the ASICs that because Ethereum went above 6 gigabytes DAG size are now mining. They have no choice but to mine another ETH hash coin, and the manufacturers have released, the firmware. So we know that, in my opinion, Ethereum Classic is going to get the vast majority of the hash rate, just the ASICs alone, because just out of nowhere having to go for the most part. And the liquidity is there. And we have seen that since the beginning of the year. So, but yeah, I think that Beam hash is very important. And I think that actually is very appealing to Ethereum miners, because it is a type of algorithm, as you say, ASIC friendly. So therefore, maybe the manufacturers will get on board, and is also does not cripple GPUs.
Yeah, absolutely, Rusky. I can't disagree with any of that, to be honest. I think what we're seeing currently is there are miners jumping off the Ethereum network early, maybe to think that they can get a head start on everybody else on other coins, and Ethereum Classic will take pretty much all of the ASICs that stay powered up from Ethereum. I think it's
and there's really we don't know exactly what number that is, because we don't know how many ASICs have been produced. We don't know how many ASIC. We can distinguish that, which one is.
I don't think Bitmain release public accounts, do they?
Well, the thing is, we're already washing out like weekends. If you think about it, if you look, I don't know if you've been looking at the charts and everything else, the dailies, But the miners, they're not going to sell at a loss. And that's a fact. If you're a
It'd be
real
foolish
miner, if you're a
But
real miner,
back,
like, and you're mining something, you're not going to sell that coin at a loss. So it's only a matter of time. There is going to be
so
a short squeeze. And
so
because,
back.
go ahead.
Sorry, back. If we can roll back to the topic about the GPU versus ASIC thing. Like I said earlier on, I think that the algorithms that we have in a lot of coins these days, and especially with Beam, that even if an ASIC comes along, you won't be kicked off the network with your GPUs. You can still compete, and you can still make that ultimate the profit that you want at the end of the day.
Right. That's why I, personally like Beam. I think that was a very smart decision and move to make because, compared to like Kapow or ProgPow, right, algorithm, they're very anti-ASIC, so therefore only the GPU miners can eat, right? But
Or
now
as
we're
I say,
welcoming,
FGPAs,
right, or
and
whatever.
there
Yeah.
are a lot of them out there
Well,
on
that
these
too, but still,
algorithms.
but with the Beam Hash 3 given enough interest and demand, there might be a market to where an ASIC manufacturer might want to create similar like we have Ethash ASICs right now. It's no
It,
different.
that ultimately, I don't think that's dictated by price, liquidity, network security. I think that in itself is generally dictated to by longevity of a project. Because when somebody wants to buy tens of millions worth of silicon to make an ASIC machine for a particular algo, they do so in the knowledge that the network is has age, it has maturity, and it knows that they're going to be around for some time. And with the development that, as Romanov says, is going on in Beam, Beam has that. So yeah, it's important to point out that fact that it's not always just about liquidity. It's not always just about the network. It has a lot to do with the
Potential.
projections. Yeah, exactly.
And then
I,
Beam Hash 3, that's an equal hash algorithm. Is that right?
well, yeah, it's not like it's based. The idea is based on Equihash algorithm, but
So if you were to make an ASIC for Beam Hash 3, you wouldn't be able, theoretically speaking, be able to do other equal hash like algorithms?
yes, I think so. But the question is about kind of specific demands on the memory
Gotcha.
and the size of the memory. Yeah, so like I'm not an expert in this field, so I wouldn't like tell you exactly. I think we should ask Lolly how viable would it be? But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's an interesting question to ask for sure.
Mhm.
What I wanted to ask you, Raskul, is like when you like choosing GPU to mine Beam, like which GPUs are best suited for that? Because I know there are a lot of
So
differences.
you mentioned Lolly, and I've had a sneak peek at he's got an update coming out on Law Miner, which brings the hash rate up on his particular software on NVIDIA cards. Now, as a miner, my preference is NVIDIA cards, but up until this date, we've found that the ATI, sorry, I'm living in the past, the AMD cards were generally more efficient on BMB. Simply because way that Lolly designed BeamHash 3 and his preferences, AMD cards. So he basically develops his software, or had done in the day when we were conceived, to favor AMD cards.
And in terms of memory, like what's the range there?
Well, be mined on anything with at least 3 GB cards, as we all know anyway. So my knowledge comes in the NVIDIA cards. So we're looking at, say, a 3090 with 24 GB is absolutely massive on Beam. And I think they run between 56, 57 sol per second, I think, if my memory serves me rightly. Looking at my sheet, have a look. Yeah, so we're looking around 60 second on a 3090, which is 24 gigabytes. Compared to your old, say 1060s, let's go back that far. The NVIDIA 1060s with 3 and 4 gigabytes of RAM would get you 10 sols. So you're 6 times as powerful on the newer cards as you were with the old mining cards, in my farm. So.
And in terms of electricity consumption, like are they more, the new cards are more efficient than old ones?
They're more efficient, but they do take more power, obviously. So I can run I've got them running downstairs in my kitchen. The 1060 is still running on beam, 11 sols per second. I've got them down at 65 watts, which is really quite efficient. It's very good indeed. But if you're running the newer cards, the hungry cards, you want the hash rate, you're getting a bigger hash rate. You're looking at more like 315 watts. At up around 315 watts, and it'll settle down to about 290 watts for your 60 sol. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts, really, depending on ultimately your space and your airflow. The more wattage you push out, physics dictates that wattage creates heat, and it's the heat that you want to move off your mining rig into the ether.
From what I recall, AMD cards, they're more efficient on being hash 3 in terms of not like they hash faster, but they have better hash rate per wattage.
A better sol per watt, yeah. I think that's true at this point, and ultimately that depends on mining software developers, because it's their expertise and know-how which produces the efficiency in your card ultimately, because they're the ones that are developing the what you're running on, you know.
Like how does mining on your own rig compare to these services like NiceHash that I think were at least very popular, but I don't know now whether they will continue to be like once Ethereum is off the table.
Yeah, I think NiceHash is it's a valuable service in as much as for example for small network coins, if you want to speculate, ultimately mining the coin directly is always going to be in the long term a better option for a miner. Excuse me.
It's also been the go-to to attack a smaller chain as well.
It can be. Some of these services it can be questionable. Although it's not the service that's questionable, it's the people that use them ultimately. You know, it's like
well, NiceHash, people don't care. They're just like, here's my hardware, pay me Bitcoin. Whoever's paying the highest price, use it however you want. You know, so.
Yeah, and it's a fallacy that you're always going to be making more money by renting out your rigs on these platforms, because, like I say, if everybody goes on the same network, then the network rises and the price goes down. And that's what happens with these platforms. I generally avoid, and I think now can you still mine to a NiceHash command line using any OS, or it seems on the website they tell you have to use NiceHash OS or you have to use NiceHash Quick Miner, which ultimately means you have to put Windows on your mining rig, which is a stupid idea in the first place.
No, you can get Stratums and just mine to your Bitcoin.
It still allows you to do that. They just.
Oh, unless they changed it. That was the last time I used NiceHash. It was a while back. I don't know if they changed
it. I stopped using it when it became Nice Crash. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was like 2017. Right before.
That was quite a while. Yeah, it was. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah,
Lost a load of money then.
Same.
So in terms of the geography, like where is cheap electricity? Like where is it located? Except for, I don't know, Siberian, river dam water powered.
From what I know, I think the most stable farms run in Eastern Europe,
In
over
Texas,
in the Eastern Bloc, as far as I know. I don't know anything about
Yeah,
America.
Texas is becoming big on that, right? They
Is
have
that right?
a massive
yeah.
surge.
And then also they're doing, what is it, the fumes or something that they're getting from when they extract oil or something. I don't remember, but like the methane that they're burning methane and they're using that for electricity to mine.
Right. So it is kind of proof of more or less useful work, or like at least less useless
It's
than.
green. It's green solution. It's helping out.
Don't say green. No, I'm kidding. Uh, yeah, you know what? I have a question about Ethereum Classic. I'm just not because of mining, but in general, I'm just wondering. Um, in terms of like the actual smart contracts that run there, is there like any meaningful like DeFi there or whatever? Like, is anybody going to switch at least some of the applications to Ethereum Classic, or is it like just pure transfer of value for now? I'm just not
So
familiar with it.
if you want to like use the official bridges, uh, or let's say, I wouldn't say official. There's nothing official in Ethereum Classic because it's completely decentralized. So if you want to use bridges that have used the most, like the safest practice standards, uh, and clone what Ethereum is doing, for DeFi, I would use, it's called ETC swap. Uh, so and there's no token representation for it or anything like that. There's no yield farming. It's just like liquidity. You can lock in your liquidity and start a token or whatever if you wanted to. Now, I've been personally using Hebe. It's Hebe. They have more than proved themselves with the community of being a legitimate, a DeFi platform, and they have been building up quite a lot. They've been doing the HE, was it the domain name service, and they're doing a lot. So yeah, between Hebe and ETC swap, those are the only two that I would uh, personally put my name, or just like vouch for. Like at this.
It's interesting. I think, and when I've touched on it with regards to the EVM compatibility. I mean, we can slate Ethereum for their current decision, but ultimately, the base of a smart contract needs to be multi-language for it to be adopted widely. So although Beam has, is it BVM, and when EVM is all built into Beam as well, it's quite a leap, and a good thing. It's like,
Yeah,
you
I
run a
mean, like it's slightly, once again off topic from the mining, but for a long time, like for me, the EVM and Solidity, especially as a programming language for it, was very similar to JavaScript. And I know like a lot of developers out there listening, like don't jump on me, but JavaScript kind of became very popular and very quickly kind of grown. The initial complexity of the language was what like developed for very simple stuff, but then became widely used for very complicated applications. And it created some difficulties because the language did not adapt as quickly. So that's something that we see with Solidity. Solidity is very easy to learn, so it seems, but it hides a lot of quirks, and that's why kind of a lot of people are writing a lot of contracts very quickly, sometimes taking a working contract and then modifying it, which leads to a lot of relatively low quality contracts, and that leads in turn to all of the hacks that we're seeing. So, like in ideal world, you would rather have a DeFi application written in kind of more robust language environment and then less bugs. But that, of course, requires more qualified developers, more time for testing. So this is the trade-off that we saw. And like when we developed BVM, obviously, in addition to all the regular things, we needed to implement all of our privacy mechanisms. We could not have taken just, at that point, easily adapted Solidity for that purpose, or like EVM design. And that was it's a great question that whether we should have started with EVM, because eventually that's what we're doing now, right? We're adding EVM into the mix. Yeah, but once again, we will probably have to modify it somewhat, add the new functions and new mechanisms to implement the privacy-related features. Yeah,
I should say it is relevant to the mining, because having been in this space for 10 years, miners, we're not all we're only going to mine for profit. We do look for decent projects that should have longevity and deserve longevity. And the volume of development on a coin is very important, because we don't want to be secure in a network that has no work on it. So I think even though the principles of miners have sort of waned over the years, where we would ultimately say back in 2011 to 2013, we would look to set our graphics cards onto something that we found held value in our principles. There are still miners out there that do, and I think it's important to have that development behind it. So it is very relevant to mining, I would say.
No, I mean, this is actually speaking of values and principles. For me, one of the most interesting things in this kind of the merge experience, as I call it, is what really happened to the network in the proof of stake. Because I was always kind of preferring proof of work from many different reasons. But I think in this specific case of Ethereum, which is like a massive chain with millions of wallets and kind of all of the questions of decentralization, censorship resistance will be put to a very difficult, interesting test now, because as we know already, we're starting from a relatively bad place. Like most of the infrastructure runs on Amazon. The concentration of stake currently, the distribution is very weird looking. Most of the entities are regulated. So yeah, I think that it's also going to be a very acute kind of debate of eventually proof of work versus proof of stake for these reasons.
Yeah,
I think it's going to lose its value, to be honest, because not instantly, but over time.
I think if you turn anything from what it is now is a unlimited supply, perpetual supply, into something that offers a mere 10% of the emission to people who all they're doing is locking their coins onto, and you've seen it. You've seen some of the tweets that people are putting together VMs, and they don't even know how to build these bloody things. It's a worry that people are putting 70 and 80 Ethereum into somebody's backroom computer that they don't even know how to put four VMs in a single box. It's a serious concern.
I look at it like this. Think about all the Ethereum that has been already staked while they were testing it. For all the people that couldn't withdraw.
And how much does the Ethereum develop? How much do the Ethereum developers hold? I mean, I think Buterin has already said he holds around 330,000 Ethereum, and that's just probably scratching the surface. I don't think you want to. I certainly wouldn't.
Miners have to pay for electricity, maintenance their hardware. We have to learn how to do all of this stuff. We have to jump through hoops, right? What does staking do? You put your coin on the computer, or open up your wallet, click
on somebody else's computer.
Right. You walk away, you forget. A year later, I got some coins, extra coins, 1,000 extra coins or whatever, come back, unstake, you just dump it. They don't care. They don't have anything. There's no there's no passion to it. Like they don't do anything to earn it. So if you don't earn something, when you don't do something to earn it, you don't have the same attachment to those coins. But that's just
It's the work ethic. It's the work ethic. If you ever come to Scotland, you'll see we're a hard-working nation, and it's that has produced so many great things coming out of this country over the years. If you don't work for something, it's worthless at the end of the day, and that's what proof of work is versus proof of stake.
There was actually this article that I think I shared in Twitter, and one of the points that it was like a heavy criticism of this entire kind of the way that this proof of stake switch was made. There were several like points there, but one that kind of was very interesting to me is about the fact that as a miner, it's your GPUs, right? It's your like your custody of your GPUs, and if you decide that some mining pool is not like good for any reason, you can instantly switch. However, when you are holding your stake, especially if it's like in a custodial service, which I think most of them are, it's not as easy. Like there is a lot more stickiness to your stake, and this kind of in turn encourages you to just forget it. So they are sensory transactions. Like I'm not like going to try to take my stake out and move it to a different pool or whatever. And this is ultimately bad for the overall decentralization of the system.
Absolutely,
Right,
and then it boils down to the censorship resistance. How censorship resistant is this person with their 4 VMs in the back room? How easily swayed are they to do what the hell they want with your coin?
And every guy in PAL can be a validator if you think about it, right? Did you hear about just the other day? They hit a single block, Bitcoin block, with a very old ASIC that I forgot how many terahashes it does, but it was just like absolute minimum in today's day and age. But they found a block, and it was like was it 6 Bitcoin or something like that reward now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you stake, like it basically encourages preferential attachment, right? So the more stake you have, the more like stake you're going to have in the future if you kind of restake it all. And it's not clear exactly. Like, okay, so we are starting with some specific distribution of allocation, but what's more important is the dynamics of it, right? So how this allocation is going to change over, let's say, the next couple of years. And my personal opinion is that it's not like we're going to see more and more like small, validators appearing. On the contrary, we will see like the bigger players and bigger.
Exactly, and hence, I mean, you could call me a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that the entire reason that Ethereum is going to proof of stake is from pressure from governments, because they all want some kind of central bank digital currency, and in their eyes, Ethereum is perfect. It's a public blockchain.
Didn't they say Ethereum was not a security because it was PAL? How would that affect it once they go to proof of stake?
Didn't they just say like everything is a security? I'm losing track of these debates.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They changed their opinion,
I know
way
back
too
in
often.
2018 they said that Ethereum wasn't a security, and everybody was relieved because it was proof of work. Ethereum. Can you? Is it better?
I'm not sure. Everybody disappeared.
Sorry, yeah. Is it better?
Yeah.
So I recall 2018. There was like a big thing where everybody was worried if Ethereum was security, and they declared officially, the SEC said that Ethereum is not a security, and the reason for their I guess call was because it was proof of work. And so I don't remember them
possibly
saying anything about afterwards, but I do recall that proof of work kind of like what separated it from made it not be a security. So I don't know, how would that affect Ethereum 2.0 when it becomes a proof of stake?
Yeah, that's interesting for sure, because I think like compared to 4 years ago when we got started, I think It's not like the regulation got too far, but there were some kind of interesting, in my opinion, some interesting adjustments, I would say. Some things got a little bit easier, some things didn't, unfortunately. Also, I specifically live in one of the kind of most, how would they put it, backward, rigid countries that, but yeah, we're not a good example of anything. But I always wanted to like wonder how the taxes work in this case. Like when you're doing proof of stake, like do you pay taxes? Do you get a report from your Lido or whatever, whoever is holding your Ethereum of how much you made? So if it's all taxable, it kind of creates this casino effect where the house always wins, right?
Yeah, the current laws are a joke. I don't know.
I think for me in the UK, I think I actually quite like the way the UK are regulating crypto. I ignore all the US stuff, all the security and all the rest of it. Basically, in the UK, you pay capital gains tax on what you sell. That is the flat line. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Anything else aside from that is meaningless US drivel, as far as I'm concerned.
No,
I'm quite happy to limit it.
I totally agree. In Israel, it's also very easy to pay taxes. The problem is after that, you cannot move the money to the bank.
Also, you forget the US is kind of leading the crypto market right now.
In the UK, we can move the money to the bank, but we can't move money from the bank into crypto, which is
Really?
it's just my banking in particular, I think it was about 18 months ago, or maybe not that long ago. I tried to move some money to one of the centralized exchanges that I've got an account on, and it popped up saying we were not allowing this transaction. You're not allowed to move your money anywhere. So I basically moved my money to a different bank. That's.
Oh man, that's very interesting. Because here it's exactly the opposite. But yeah, by the way, I think I'm not sure 100% sure, but I think the reason that mining does not exist in Israel is because you also need to pay VAT on whatever you mine.
Yeah,
it's considered a product.
Got you.
Yeah, so yeah, there are some very, very weird kind of laws here, but once again, it's just us. It's always been like that. Yeah, so it's been a great discussion. I think Gus fallen asleep somewhere in Western London or wherever he's living.
No, I've been listening intently. I didn't have a massive amount of input as I'm a mining noob, but very interest here. East London, by the way. West London is the fancy part. I'm in the east.
I gave you more credit. So before we kind of move into this, closing part, I'd just like to make one kind of announcement. We will publish the whole details as usual in our newsletter tomorrow, but since we're all here, we're going to do this pre-announcement. So sometime this week, we're going to have a party. It's going to be an asset swap party, and it's in honor of the asset swap feature that is going to be released in the next 7.2 version of our wallets, desktop wallets. So what we're going to do, we'll publish these detailed instructions, how to install our DAppNet wallet, and this is like our test net for all the new applications. And then we are going to have a Twitter space. Everybody will come, open their wallets, and we will have like one asset that we will create a lot of swap offers for. And whoever claims those assets will later be able to convert them into like the real Beam on the real mainnet. So it's going to be this kind of incentivized testing session, which will allow us to test our feature at scale, which is obviously very important. Just to explain in a few words, asset swap is very similar to what we had with the atomic swap, only it's not for different blockchains, it's for actually confidential assets on Beam chain. And the reason for that is like when you have a new asset, obviously it's not listed in any exchange. So you can either trade it on DEX, which does not yet exist on Beam, but it will soon. But we also wanted to provide you kind of in-wallet, this sort of marketplace, this offer board, so you can publish offers. And this will make any asset that you have immediately tradable. So this is kind of the pre-announcement. And once again tomorrow in the newsletter and on our Twitter and Telegram. We'll publish all the details and the instructions, so stay tuned. And now we can move on.
Excellent.
Wow,
That
how do you move on from
sounds
that?
like fun. I think I've just to preempt that as well. I've also created a couple of assets on DAppNet to play with, so you'll see those listed on the asset swaps when we get this party going. That'll be quite fun, just for a bit of fun, you know.
Yep, it's going to be very interesting. So what else about? I think we covered quite a lot of ground here.
If anybody's got any questions about mining, I'm happy to see if I can answer any of those.
Or in general. By the way, it's an interesting fun fact. Some of these Twitter spaces were talking about all kinds of stuff, which is not directly related to Beam. And I always thought that we were being smart here because it's like, how much can we talk about Beam? Let's talk about other topics. Maybe people want to learn other stuff. Turns out, not exactly. I'm not sure. Maybe we should have a poll. But a lot of people are saying, oh, they're talking about all the other stuff again. Why are they talking about Beam? And I'm like, how much can I talk about Beam? But yeah, I think we should have a poll somewhere on Twitter and say if it's okay to talk about other stuff, or should we keep it Beam only?
I think, to be fair, is Beam not going to be a multi-chain platform? So why are we not going to talk about
I quite enjoy talking about.
Yeah, I don't see the problem with that because Beam is
crypto.
building EVM or BVM. They're connecting a Ethereum bridge. They're connecting other bridges. So why not talk about other chains? Because those are Beam's potential prospects, right?
Absolutely, I agree.
Ultimately, it harks back to the early days of the Bitcoin Talk forum when it was worth looking at. Everybody on there would interact with each different new coin that came out, and you'd find out all about it, and you'd learn stuff, and there all would be something new. We're not in this space against each other. We are. We are on the right side of history here, moving forwards with.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just I think it was an hour and a half ago, a guy Kurem shared this tweet. It was a tweet by Eric Wall, and he said something like, "People ask me whether this new level 1 coin is good or not," and he says what does it matter, because the market is already pretty saturated. You have fast coins, you have Rust coins, you have everything. And I was thinking about that and was thinking wait a minute, it's so not true, because despite all of this kind of similar saturation that we have a lot of different projects, in terms of I think most of the aspects of crypto were still in infancy, whether it's even the speed or even decentralization. So I think we have quite a lot innovation to do ahead of us. And definitely not, it's not like the market is already done and saturated with everything is already existing.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. All right. So I think if we don't have questions, we will start wrapping it up. Thank you very much, Raskul, for the insights into mining. And obviously we have...
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we have a dedicated channel for that on Telegram, and we have a lot of great guides and tutorials on how to set it up. Yeah, and if you are encounter articles which discuss what to mine after Ethereum merge or whatever, and they don't mention Beam, please point it out to us, and we will step in yourself, and it will be good for the ecosystem. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know anything about Beam mining, I've got a whole load of guides and how-tos on my own personal website, and you can go onto that at raskul.com and have a look. Under the Beam Online heading, there are 20 or 30 different topics regarding what to do with mining. Yeah, and I'm always on hand to answer any questions.
I think you ought to write a second book about that. I mean, the first book was not about mining, but the second one.
I've actually started a new novel. But it's fiction again. Yeah. It's a good point. Maybe one of these days I'll get around to writing something about crypto.
Adventures in the Beam land. Yeah, you already have the Beambots character, all drawn out. You just need to invent a story about them, and here you go. Okay, thanks very much, everyone, and yeah, see you next week, same time, and definitely we'll see you before that in our asset swap party.
Excellent. Take care.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye bye. Thank you.
See you guys. Thank you.